I'm Carter Brown here with Amanda Johnson, a great friend of mine, and she has a story, lots of stories to share. So we're going to get into that. Thanks so much for watching, and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right, let's get started, girlfriend. We got a lot to talk about.
Okay.
God has been doing a lot in your life.
Yes. A lot. A lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Good
And
stuff.
specifically in your work.
Yes.
Like he did, I like the beginning and the end and the now, not no end, but like now, what he's doing too. But let's start a little bit at the beginning.
At the beginning, so the company that I'm with right now, I've been there for 24 years. I started when I was 22. And the funny thing is I never applied for this job. It was so crazy.
Whoa.
I was actually working in my first professional job as I was in a computer training company, and it was where we taught professionals how to do Word and PowerPoint and Excel, and I was the person, I was the face, I was who you saw when you came in. I greeted you, took you back to class. I was the one on the phone that registered you for your classes. And this group of people kept coming in and going to classes, and they've been coming for months, and I never really paid attention to them, outside of anything.
Right.
And one day, one of the guys just came up and he said, "Do you like your job?" Well, I love my job. So I was like, and plus he was a client, so I'm not going to say no, I don't like my job. But I said, yeah, it's like I do. And he's like, well, I've been watching you. And he said, we have a position at our office and we think you would be a great fit. And we'd like you to come interview. And I was like, okay. So we scheduled the interview, and then I was online and I'm like looking it up. I'm like, what is this company? Who are these people? And I just thought, okay, well, let's just do the interview and see. And I went in there, and I did think it was a little creepy that they had been watching me. But I also think that that does say a lot about people are watching, even if you don't think they are, how you're carrying yourself. Because they have been coming for months, and they thought it wasn't just like they came in and saw me and saw a pretty face and said, oh, I want her in our office. Mm-hmm. It was, months of coming in there and seeing me greet people and me being consistent in how I greeted people and how I handled situations, that they thought that was a good place for me to go. So I went and interviewed and got the job, and I don't think I ever filled out an application.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah. And I've been there 24 years.
That's amazing.
It was crazy. I was 22 years old. I had no idea.
You had no idea, but also from what I remember, your resume, if you had one, wasn't like picture perfect.
I had worked at Walmart when I was going to school, and I worked at ExecuTrain, which is the company that I was working on. So that was the only 2 jobs I've ever had.
Yeah.
So I really didn't have anything. I didn't have a college degree.
Yeah.
So that was it. That was crazy.
It's crazy, and it just screams favor.
Yes.
To me.
And I didn't really know God at the time, so it's interesting how he was already he was still planning that path for me. Even when I didn't know him, he still knew me.
Right.
And he still was working things out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So as I look back, I see so much favor.
Yeah.
And so much of his hand in my life, especially in that workplace.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's fast forward. We're going to go from the beginning to the now.
Yeah.
You've gotten a past promotion.
I have.
And I know that it's kind of brought you to a crossroads where you had to make a really big decision.
Yeah. So I started out as a receptionist, and I was that for probably about 2 months. And they gave me this role called sales audit, which is essentially the billing. And I handled, at the time, 11 locations in Virginia. As I've gone on, I've stayed in that sales audit role to where, 24 years later, there's been system changes and things like that, but I'm just at the top of my game. Like, I'm the one that corporate calls when they have a question and they want to know, like, how do we do this process? Or what do you think's the best process? Or, and other sales auditors call me for support. So I'm at the top of my game. And our company is famous for doing some restructuring. So over the years, I have been with Virginia, then acquired Greensboro, and then back in June, I lost Virginia, and then I just had Greensboro. And so I'm in a Virginia office and doing Greensboro locations. And there started to be like this push for me to move because my daughter graduates in May. And so that whole, when she graduates, why don't you move down here? And so the pressure was on. And they even wanted me to take on another role, a sales role, which would have been a promotion. It would have been more money, more opportunity. So it was tough because I really wanted the promotion. I wanted more opportunity, but I was, I didn't want to leave Savannah. But, when you're graduating, that's like the next phase of your life. And so I thought, well, she's going to college. What am I going to do? And I was really tempted. And then I started to think about generational curses in my life and in my mom's life. When I was 17, the day after I graduated, she was faced with this similar decision. It wasn't for work, but it was for something else. And she had the decision to stay or leave, and she left. And I stayed behind. And that was hard. And I've been on my own ever since. So, and we don't have a good relationship. And so I'm a single mom.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want that relationship with my daughter. Like, I want to be close. And so that has been a really big thing on my heart, a heaviness on my heart. And I started to see that I was being faced with the same crossroads that my mom was.
Yeah.
And her mom had left her when she was little. So it's like a generational curse that's gone on. And I realized that, and I called it what it was. And I started to pray into it. And and I asked you guys, I called you guys and said, hey, I need you to pray for me because I don't think I'm supposed to go.
Well, I
But
told you
if-
that you weren't, and God
Yeah.
told me that you needed to stay close to me.
I knew, and I said, God, because I'm doing Greensboro locations. I'm in Virginia. There's really no reason for me to be here in Virginia unless I try and take a different role that I don't want to start over. But I tried to be that open hands. But when I realized that was the crossroads that my mom had faced, and I thought, God, if this is an opportunity for me to break that curse over generations of moms leaving their daughters, let's stop it with me.
Amen.
So I just said, God, please just open a door, make a way. And he did.
What happened?
He did. So 2 months later, I believe, I got my annual review. And my annual review, my boss actually wrote on my evaluation that with all the restructuring and everything, I handled everything with professionalism and grace. Grace is a God word.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, okay, God's in this. So I was like, okay, God is doing something because I'm getting more money. This is great. But still, there's that push to move. So what are we going to do with this? And then a month later, my counterpart in, this is going to be a little weird, stay with me. So Raleigh and Virginia are considered a region.
Okay.
And Greensboro is in another region. So God somehow, some way moved that my counterpart in Raleigh got a promotion and she left. And so I acquired Raleigh and Greensboro. So I'm bi-regional. And since Raleigh is a part of Virginia, I get to stay in my Virginia office, if that makes any sense at all whatsoever. So God literally restructured everything again so that I could stay in Virginia, and I got a promotion, and I got more money in addition to the increase that I got annually. So, I mean, that's God. And I honestly went back and thought about that crossroads, and I thought, this is God's way of saying you made the right decision. That curse is broken. So we're not going to face this anymore. And I felt so released by that and so free with that.
Yeah.
So,
it's like, okay, so they created a position just for you that they've never done before.
Yeah, there's no person in my position. It's usually one sales auditor per region. And I am in 2 regions right now. And I've got 42 locations. Most people have 20.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, and I'm able to handle it. It's not even like it's an overwhelming, acquisition. It's balanced and it flows and it's working so well. And I'm so happy. And I get to stay in that role that I wanted and not have to start new somewhere else. So it's been, it's been God. It is completely God.
I just hear and see favor and like confirmation, because he doesn't have to confirm for us what he's doing and that it's him.
No.
But he gave that to you. It's just as like an extra gift.
Yes.
And you get to be here with Savannah.
And I get to be here with Savannah.
Mhm.
So, and I mean, and I think our relationship is intact. Because that's the sad part is I have only seen my mom twice since I was 17.
Since you were 17.
And I'm 46.
Mm.
And we do talk on the phone, but the relationship is not anywhere
Yeah.
what I would want for me and my daughter.
No.
So yeah.
That's amazing.
And it's hard too when you think about, I'm sure when my mom left, she didn't think she would never, like, she wouldn't really have a relationship with me. I'm sure she thought that, we would be able to talk or things would
Right.
happen, but life gets in the way,
Mhm.
And that's been one of the biggest prayers in my life since I've had Savannah is that I don't want that same relationship with her that I have with my mom.
Right.
I want it to be strong,
Mhm.
and I want to be there for her physically, be there for her.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
I love that. Well, okay, so this has been so apparent that God has been working in your life. When did you become a Christian?
I became a Christian when I was 30.
Okay.
I knew of God, but I knew him as someone you prayed to when you were sick or someone else was sick. But I didn't have a relationship. I didn't go to church on a regular basis. I think I went to one vacation Bible school maybe when I was little. But it wasn't until my ex-husband and I separated
Mhm.
and he left and I just felt so alone.
Mm.
And because he had become my family, because I literally met him not too long after my mom left. And he became my family. And when he left, it's like my whole world just crumbled. And I had someone that had invited me to church. And I went on a Wednesday night and got saved and had no idea that that's what was going to happen. So it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I knew him and started to really dive in to figure out, like, okay, what is this about? And because he gave me hope and he gave me peace in a really dark time, and I hadn't had that. So that was something I wanted to hold on to, and I wanted more of that. So I was all in.
Yeah. I love what you said before about how you didn't know God till you were 30, but he knew you the whole time.
Yes. Yes.
So I guess my question in that, I love that because it's so true. And he knows us inside and out in all the ways. And the things that we need, like favor and confirmation, might be different for you than it is for someone else and what they need. So I wonder when you turned 30 and you started to get to know God, you're still in the same, maybe not the same role, but the same company.
Yeah, same company.
How did work look any different or did it look the same?
Work was my constant. It was consistent. It was something that wasn't changing. My world had completely crumbled. I had to find a new place to live because we were selling our house. I had a newborn baby. I mean, Savannah was not even a year old when all of this happened. So there were so many changes in my life, and I just felt so like everything was just chaotic except my job was just constant. It was like the only constant thing that just was sustainable and it didn't move. It was secure. It was like, I guess that's probably the best word for it. It was my security.
Okay.
It was the only true sense of security that I had that I knew wasn't going to go anywhere.
So I know you personally, and I know you just exude Jesus and the Holy Spirit. So tell me about how that looks at work.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I never thought about bringing it to work. I never thought that was even really an option until I went to the influencer conference in October and I saw these professional women talking about how they bring it into their workplace. And I thought, wow, that's a new concept for me because, companies now, it's really hard, because if you bring Jesus into it or prayer, you might offend someone. So it's a really, you got to kind of walk a very thin line when it comes to that. And so I've always kind of compartmentalized my Christianity. So at church, it's easy to worship God, and at home, it's easy to worship God.
Right.
But how do you do it at work? And so that's what that conference kind of opened my eyes to, like, hey, God, I want a part of this.
Yeah.
I work in a small office with predominantly men. They're Christian men, but it's all men. And so I'm like, being a female, like, how do I bring that into the office? And And when my boss gave me that evaluation, and even the way I handled the changes, the restructuring, even though I was worried and I was having everybody pray over it, he saw grace and professionalism.
Right.
And so even when I didn't know I was bringing something into that workplace, I was bringing grace into that workplace. And so I started to pray into the fruit of the Spirit. You know, I was like, God, I want to exude that, because I know I can't just go into work and drop Jesus' name at the water cooler. But
Oh, Jesus.
oh, Jesus, thank you for the water. But I wanted to do something that was going to be impactful and make a difference, and just ask God for opportunities, like show me what to do. And I used to come into my office and close my door and just work, you know, and get my stuff done. And occasionally if somebody walked by, you know, I'd say hi or whatever. But I started opening my door, and just really, I don't know. It's funny how it works, but people would just start coming into my office and venting, or just, you know, chatting with me, and giving me opportunities to encourage them, you know, or to help them talk through something, or infusing compassion into, you know, a conversation that they were concerned about, or giving them direction. So I started to find myself as one of those safe places, I guess, in the office, where people would come and they would sit and they would talk and be encouraged, and they always left better than when they came in. So I thought that was a good thing. And I'm an encourager. I'm a natural encourager. So that just has made me feel really good about that. And then, of course, when customers call in, my whole job is handling billing. So if a customer's calling me, it's because something's wrong. So they're ready for a fight. Because they are. They're ready for a fight. And I am a fighter, but not in this. I'm a gentle person.
Yeah.
So some of the fruits of the Spirit, you know, I do see like coming out in this. So when they call, like it's like I immediately hit them with grace and gentleness and kindness, and it diffuses the situation, and we get a lot more accomplished. And then people start talking to me and telling me things that are going on in their life, and giving me opportunities to encourage them. I had this one lady who had emailed me asking for an invoice, so I'd sent it back to her, and she responded and said, "Thank you so much, Ashley. I really appreciate that." And it hit me, because you know my testimony, and Amanda means worthy to be loved, and that's like a huge part of my testimony. So I don't like it when people don't know my name.
Amanda.
It is Amanda. So I noticed that right away, and I was like, do I say something? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to be petty. So I just kind of left it alone. And a little while later, she messaged me back and said, "I'm so sorry." She said, "I know your name is Amanda." She said, "But my niece, Ashley, just had surgery, and I'm really worried about her, and she's just on my heart." And I sat there for a minute, and I thought, God, this is an opportunity where normally, if it was a normal person outside anywhere else, I would say, you know, "Is it okay if I pray for you?" Or, you know, I'm going to keep you in my prayers if that's okay. And I said, you know, I'm going to do this. You know, I'm going to be bold. I'm going to honor you, and I'm going to respond with my work email and let her know, "Hey, that's not a problem, you know, about the name. Not, you know, please don't worry about that. I'm sorry to hear about your niece. And if it's okay, I'll be praying for me to say this. I'll be praying for you. I'll keep your family in my prayers." And she responded with such, I mean, just enthusiasm. She's like, "Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate all the prayers we can get. You know, it's been a really tough road for us." And she went into a little bit more about what was going on. And it gave me an opportunity to tell her that, hey, you know, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I'm a Christian leader in our church, and I want to like bring this into the workplace, but I'm a little nervous with today and how you would take that. So I appreciate you receiving it the way that you did. And she said, I think we all need to be a little more bold like you. And so it was just such an encouragement. And it's like, okay, maybe that was a seed that was also planted for her too, that, hey, going forward, maybe she will be a little more bold and do that. And we start putting prayer back in the workplace. How amazing would that be?
So amazing. I see that happening. Like when you said your doors are open, I see that happening like in the future for you, that people might just come into your safe space of a office and receiving prayer.
That would be amazing.
Whatever.
That would be amazing.
So I heard from you that when she emailed you about Ashley, that there was a little bit of a hesitation. Not much. I mean, you were really bold in your response.
There was a hesitation. Because
it's a risk and reward. right?
It is a risk because you don't know how someone's going to receive it. And especially in the workplace, because if they are offended, they can easily call the ethics hotline.
Mm,
That's a huge thing. It's like if you've offended someone, they have a hotline they can call and it goes straight up to the top. Like
right.
this, it bypasses your manager, your next manager, like it goes straight to corporate.
Mm,
So there is a huge risk there if you do offend someone.
right.
Um, so I really prayed over it before I sent that
Yeah,
and just asked God, I'm trying to honor you. I'm trying to be the hands and feet.
right.
So help me out here.
Yeah.
And he really gave me someone that was very receptive.
Hmm.
So it was a blessing. It was a good thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so encouraging because it's something so little, but I think it sounds like it meant so much to her.
And it meant so much to me.
Hmm.
It strengthened my faith a little bit, and I think it made me a little stronger and like, okay, if I get an opportunity, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
If I've got to apologize later, I'll apologize later, but
Yeah.
I'm not there's not been many people I say that. I've never crossed someone that has not received prayer. That said,
Right.
"Oh no, please don't pray
No.
for me. I'm offended by prayer." So I said, I'm not necessarily going to start preaching to people,
Sure.
but I can pray for people. I can
Right.
100% pray for people.
Yeah. There's a fine line, like you
Mhm.
said, that they could just call an ethics hotline or something else. And so, there are things that you can do, like you're talking about, like showing the fruits of the spirit and maybe offering prayer if you feel like that's appropriate. I wonder about relationships that you have at work, like with maybe superiors or other coworkers, because you're in audit, right?
Mhm.
So that's not necessarily the person you want to see.
When I go out to the locations, I'm not the person that people want to see. And normally if I send an email, it's because I'm needing something or something's not right. I
Yeah.
never reach out to someone because, hey, you're doing a great job. It's always
Yeah.
because, hey, I need you to fix this, or hey,
Right.
this didn't come out right. Um, but the funny thing is that I am probably the most well-liked auditor
Ooh.
that there is because I don't approach them. It's all in the approach.
Mhm.
It's that gentleness, it's that kindness, it's that I'm on your side, like we're a team.
Mhm.
um, let's help each other out,
Yeah.
which, I think is honestly how Jesus walked. I mean,
Right.
it's, helping and serving others and just letting them know that I'm here to help you. I'm
Yeah.
not here to say you're doing this wrong. I'm here to help you, but I need
Yeah.
you to help me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you talked about something I'm going back to, like when you had the promotion that would have not been local.
Hmm.
You talked about like just being tempted by like what the maybe role might look like or the extra money.
Hmm.
And then also with audit, I think, is there temptation to where people might try to like hide things? And then how do you work through that?
Um, We have had in the past where one of the things that I have to reconcile for our locations is their cash
Mhm.
because we do have exchange of cash and check and credit cards. So there is opportunity for money to be missing. And we have had several occasions in my 24 years. It hasn't happened much, but there have been occasions where I have found where money was not being deposited on a timely basis. We had this one person who was taking it from one day and then, replacing it when she got
Mhm.
paid,
Right.
and so we caught that, and that is hard. But you have to be firm in that because you have, there's truth, there's honesty.
Right.
That's part of Christianity is
Right.
walking in truth. Everyone does come to me because I am honest and because I am ethical and because I try to always do the right thing. But I think there's a way to approach it with compassion
Hmm.
because you never know what someone's going through that they would go to that extent to do that. So just trying to approach it with kindness and compassion
Yeah.
and try to I mean, you still have to correct it. I mean, you can't. So, unfortunately, they ended up losing their job because of it, because that's just a big
Right.
no-no. But just trying to approach that whole situation with compassion
Yeah.
and firmness.
Yeah.
So that's hard.
It is hard, but gosh, I'm just so proud of you.
Thank you.
Because I feel like when you're like, I'm at the top of my game, and like you've come from a place where you were an unlikely candidate. If they had read your resume, you probably would have gotten brushed to the side. But God has just shown up so consistently,
Yeah.
even in the times that are hard and that like people are vulnerable in front of you. And I'm just proud to know you.
Thank you. I am. It is amazing what he's done with that, and looking back and seeing, because when I started in 1998, I didn't think it was going to be a career.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking career
Right.
at that time, and to see that I've been there 24 years now, it's unreal.
Yeah.
And it has truly been a career, and it's been a blessing. And I have had the best management. I've had the best coworkers. I couldn't ask for a better place, and God just slid me right in there.
Yeah.
Because the funny thing is now the people that are getting hired, almost every position that comes up is requiring a college degree, and I don't have one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just very thankful
Yeah.
that I was able to get in and stay in, because I even thought about, if I had to go somewhere else, because with that change, was that going to be, was I going to be able to just slide in that position, or was I going to have to apply for it and go through all of that stuff? Because I mean, it was a different role, a different
Right.
position, and
Right.
so was I going to have to go through an interview process? And so there was so much that was exciting about it, but also so much that was terrifying, because this is where God placed me. And I really think I'm
Absolutely.
supposed to be here.
Right. That's so inspiring.
Thank
And I
you.
know that there are a lot of people that like hearing your story will just feel inspired by it
I hope
and
so.
hope too. So let's think about that. If there was anything that you wanted to say to someone back to that 22-year-old self.
That people are watching. I think that's huge. People are watching you even if you don't think that they are. So it is really important the way you carry yourself.
Yes.
Because if I had carried myself in any other light, I don't know that I would have had this job, and I don't know where I would have been. So that, and that, to just take comfort in the fact that even if you don't know God, if you don't have a relationship with Him, He has a relationship with you. His hand is very much still on your life. He's fiercely pursuing each one of us. And He was fiercely pursuing me. And He was positioning me, even when I didn't realize what was happening. And I think that that's so true about so much of our walk in life, and even knowing God now. Just, you never really see where you're going, but if you take a moment and you look back, you can see where He's like really strategically placed you along the path, or times where you might have taken a detour, He's kind of like nudged you back in.
Right.
And it's just comforting to know that His hand has always been on me, regardless of my relationship with Him. He's had a relationship with me, and cared for me, and has guided me. And now that I'm aware of that, I want to pay more attention to it, because I'd like to miss the detours. But yeah, I think that would probably be one of the biggest things, is that God is with you, even if you don't feel like it, or even if you don't know it.
Or even if you don't know Him.
Yeah, even if you don't know Him.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For sharing. I
You're
can't think
welcome.
of anything else. Like you've been so wonderful in sharing your heart and your story, and I can't wait to hear more of it in the
Thank you.
future
Yeah.
and see where God takes you.
I know. And that somebody told me that the other day. They said, your story is still being written. And that's so encouraging, because when I give my testimony, it's always about what He's done in the past, and to just think that, hey, He's still writing my story. So 2 years from now, we don't know what my story will be. It'll be hopefully a little different, a lot more encouragement and open doors.
We'll come back to this table.
Yeah.
Or maybe a couch.
Yeah. Oh, a couch would be nice.